Well, I think it's hugely heartening and exciting, actually. It's where I come every year to kind of recharge my batteries and to get energy. And to tap into what the youth is up to, really, what the next generation is thinking, what their enthusiasms are and where they want to go. And I'm always just so inspired.
What struck me when I came to this conference was a really wide diversity of people in terms of ages and genders and also backgrounds, and the fact that there are more women speakers here than men is an absolutely fantastic thing to have, and also the fact that there's a lot of younger people coming through I think is really promising for the future.
Now, some of you, in fact indeed probably all of you know, there is another meeting taking place quite close by.
We started in 2010 in a library, in a medieval library, as libraries tend to be in Oxford.
It's amazing to think what's happened over those 10 years, from the 50 people that started in a side room in Oxford on one wet, rainy January day, to 1,000 people today, all with great ideas. And now to have Michael Gove in attendance speaking to us means that we're really starting to be noticed and our ideas are coming across to people that make the decisions.
And in addition to the 1,000 who are booked in, we've got, I think, 600 on the waiting list.
I've been really inspired about all of the small-scale farming movement and a lot of the work that's going on.
Re-energise, revitalise and just take a step back and think about what we're actually doing.
It's my first time I've ever been here. It's a great experience, so really exciting.
I've been coming to the conference now for about 8 years, and only for family reasons have I ever missed one.
I'm a humble carpenter, so yeah, I've come to learn.
I heard something on heritage grains this morning, and grains that we have been grown for thousands of years, and it was so exciting, it was so fascinating, and yeah, so that's the sort of thing that inspires me.
I've come from Palestine to Oxford because I think it's very important that we exchange information and knowledge, especially that we are all, as a global community, facing the challenges of climate change and the extinction of our biocultural heritage.
Coming from the US, we are the leaders of kind of industrialized agriculture, so we have a big hill to climb. It's really exciting to be over here where I see a lot of small farms, a lot of interest in pasture management, a lot of interest in forestry, these kind of things. Globally, it seems like the tide is turning. Everyone is thinking about climate change, and agroforestry is so much more common in other parts of the world, and we're learning from all those folks, really. They've taken the lead, and I think small landholders, small farms are really the future.
Outside the pub, whose name he bears, sits a blind old beggar of a Bethnal Green. His face a mask of others' care, sits a blind old beggar of a Bethnal Green. He has served his queen and country, took the nightmares with his pay. Way out eastwards he was blinded, now he begs round Hackney Way. You know what's in this bag of skin, says a blind old beggar of a Bethnal Green.
Discovering people in the last 12 months, 2 years, who have the same kind of aspirations and values, and have built businesses different to mine, bakers, millers, farmers, livestock farmers who are different to me. When you put that all together, it can be reassuring. You can skip a load of steps because they've come up against problems that you haven't already. But I think it's incredibly motivating when you meet like-minded people.
What this suggests to me is that there is a genuine, as it were, yearning for this kind of discussion.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Tom. I've emailed all of you, so you know me. Well done for getting to the end. I think we've made it. And yes, in this closing plenary, we're going to hear from Colin and from some of the delegates. And we're going to end the conference. Thank you. We're going to end the conference with some music. I'd first like to thank you all so much for being here, especially the 240 odd of you who have been involved in putting on sessions, be that organising them, chairing them, or speaking them. You've really made putting the programme together a pleasure, so thank you so much for that. I hope that you've had an enjoyable 2 days. I hope you've enjoyed the sessions, that you've met interesting people and had good conversations. I would really like it if at least 2 of you with heart stickers fell in love, but maybe it's too soon after 2 days. Okay, just nervous laughter and no whoops, so we'll take that as a no. But yes, I'm now going to hand over to Colin Tudge, and for those of you who don't know, Colin is one of the co-founders of the Oxford Real Farming Conference. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this on? Good. Before I start, and while we're still in, as it were, thanking vein, I want to thank 2 characters who have helped Ruth more than anybody to put this thing together. One is indeed Tom himself, Tom Simpson. for whom we have bought this wonderful book, which isn't by me, so you're off the hook. And oh, thank you very much. And but the other is for Hannah Fenton, who's been helping us for several years, whose work is. I don't know whether Hannah is around to come and receive her valuable gift, but if not, thank you, Hannah. And here it is, another excellent volume, this time by Hugh Warwick, who I hope is here. I don't know whether he is. Ah, here she comes. Here we go. There you go.
I love you so much. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Excellent show. I get very little chance to go to any of the meetings. I can't hear anybody, but I did go to one. I've been to several, but I went to the very first one, which was on weeds, because I like to stay in my comfort zone. And one guy in particular, Jonathan Storkey, this is the one thing I'm going to say about the content of this conference, spoke about, said, if you have a weed, a variety, a species of weed that gets out of hand, you do not attack that weed. What you do is you build up all the other weeds, because the group together, the community, will sort of keep themselves in check, and they will do less harm to the crop than any one rogue weed would do if it got out of hand. And I thought that sort of, in a sense, epitomizes, encapsulates what agroforestry is about. Very, very good knowledge of ecology applied to a practical problem, and actually you enhance nature by increasing the diversity of weeds at the same time as solving your problem. This is really subtle, this is good stuff. And this, of course, is more or less the antithesis of what's been happening in the conventional world, so-called, for the last 40-odd years. However, I'm not going to go on about this. What we want to talk about, I want to talk about very briefly, is the future of this conference. Because what strikes me more and more is that it really has to continue. I mean, people want it to happen. As we said, I said it on the film, 1,000 people here, 600 people on the waiting list. It is a necessary thing. And it was conceived as the antidote to the Oxford Farming Conference, which presents a sort of established so-called conventional view of agriculture, which is basically neoliberal industrial-style agriculture, which is absolutely what the world doesn't need. However, in the future, there is a problem which is definitely looming, is that of succession. And it's a question not only of getting the next generation, or indeed the next generation, but one running the conference, also finding ways of paying them, because if it's run by pensioners, they have a pension, and if it's run by people in the prime of life, then they don't, so they need to be paid. So there's that sort of problem there as well. But the main thing is to maintain, while passing it on, to maintain the integrity and the vision. And one of the points that's been put to us over the years from the beginning is that the Oxford Real Farming Conference, ours, should merge with the Oxford Farming Conference, because they represent opposite points of view. I'm coming to that. They represent opposite points of view, and there is this strange idea which is sort of shared by the BBC that, as it were, the right course must be the middle ground between what seem like two extremes, which is, of course, not at all true. Now, the point is there is, at this moment anyway, no antagonism between our conference and theirs. Ruth and I in particular have been having good chats with, it's gone right out of my head, Matt Naylor, who is going to be in charge of next year's OFC. And we should be, you know, there are things we can do together on an ad hoc basis. But it's important to remember the fundamental difference between the two. And the fundamental difference, as I see it, is that the establishment conference, the OFC, begins with the idea that the status quo is the norm. In other words, we have the neoliberal market economy, and we have the government which is elected and can more or less do what it likes, and we have international trade deals, and that's what we've got to work within, and that is called realism. And the whole task, as far as I can see they are concerned, is to create agriculture that fits in with that norm, perceived norm, which is called conventional. And anything that doesn't is called unrealistic. We start from the totally opposite view, that the real task is to create agriculture that provides good food for everybody forever, without wrecking the rest of the world, which is what we call, thank you very much. Which is what we call enlightened agriculture, and real farming is shorthand for enlightened agriculture. It's got only 3 syllables rather than 7, and that was considered to be preferable. Now then, the question then, it is the case, however, that if you want to make a living as a, you know better than I do, obviously, if you want to make a living as a farmer, it's pretty damned hard, but if you want to make a living practicing agroecology properly, it becomes even harder. And therefore, it is considered, in the words of the conventional conference, what we're doing is seen to be unrealistic, because it's very difficult to make a living doing it. But in fact, of course, if you go down what is called the conventional route, then we are heading straight for the buffers. We're already, you know, destroying cultures and leaving 1 billion people undernourished worldwide, and perpetrating a mass extinction, and promoting global warming, and neoliberal industrial agriculture is right at the heart of all these things. And that apparently is called realistic because it matches the prevailing economic model. And we say, no, what's realistic is to farm within the real ecological, physical limits of the world, and to do what will create convivial societies as opposed to divided and unjust societies. So that is the key difference, and this is the thing we have got to conserve, is the vision of what enlightened agriculture really is. Over the next, nothing stands still. We can't just go on doing this conference, well, we can, and I hope we do, go on doing this conference as it is forever and ever and ever, but we also have to try to expand. And expansion doesn't mean making this conference grow, because it's already big enough. It's a wonderful conference, but it has a party atmosphere, which is very important. And it would lose that if it became 2,000 people rather than 1,000 people. We all know that. But we've got to do other things. And there are various things, excuse me. What's that? There are various things. What, are you telling me to stop? What's going on? We have various things. We have, first of all, we want to do more conferences of this kind, but probably smaller and more ad hoc, more regional, more focused on particular topics like agroecology specifically, for example, throughout the year. That's one thing we want to do. The second thing is, which is my own sort of personal baby, really, is to get the College for Real Farming and Food Culture really moving. And we've been discussing whether we should try and set this up with premises on farms and so on. It's a very attractive idea, but also everybody who actually has property says, stay away from property, stay away from real estate, because you then spend your life trying to prop up the real estate rather than trying to spread the ideas. So we are certainly for the foreseeable future, sticking with the idea that the college should be, on the one hand, virtual, and on the other hand, peripatetic. And being virtual means that we focus on ideas. At the moment, we are building up the website, very preliminary stage at the moment, but you could do wonderful things with a really good website once you get going. And I'm writing a book about it all too, which has got to be finished sometime. And the second thing, though, on the peripatetic side, is that we want to set up a series of meetings with like-minded organizations who sort of ad hoc seminars, courses, etc., which we've already done about half a dozen of, and we've got more lined up. We've already done one with Schumacher, several actually, with Schumacher College, with a place called the Chisholm Institute in Scotland, and several others actually. Oh, a monastery in Bedfordshire called Turvey, which was a very nice venue. And there are plenty of other, several others that we've done that I can't remember off the top of my head, should have written them down, and we've got more lined up. But we want to build that up into a regular force. Very much a part of that, of course, that is itself a collaborative venture, but really almost the point of this particular, this conference is to be collaborative. And one of the great features of the college is that not only the number of people who are here, but the number of organizations that are represented here. Some of them apparently very different, but they're all sort of in a way pulling in the same direction. And collaboration and cooperation must be the name of the game. And we are now, the network is building. I won't say we are building the network is building beyond any doubt, and that is a great thing to happen. However, we should not be deceived, because the real step, the real task, is to translate the network, which has all the intellectual and moral, etc., weight behind it, and with luck we'll have lots of nice farms and businesses behind it, but to translate that, a network, into power. Because the thing, I'm only being given 1 minute, because I've been told I had it all right. But the point is, you see, that the people who actually do have power, like Tesco, like Monsanto and all the rest of them, that thing that they are absolutely focused on is power. And we're not focused on power, we're focused on building up good ideas. But we've got somehow, at some point, to translate networking into power. And I think that's all I want to say, really. So thank you very much for listening.
Okay, we've chosen 5 delegates from the conference to give their thoughts about the 10th ORFC, ORFC 19, and they're going to have 2, maybe 3, 2.5 minutes each to talk about the conference. So, yes, should we start with you, Jane?
Okay. Hello. This is my fifth time at the Oxford Real Farming Conference. And each time I've come, it's been a sort of another boost, another sort of injection of inspiration. And over that time, a group of us have been developing a food manifesto for Wales. And so this time we thought it was the time to have a workshop actually on that topic. And the reason why Wales needs a food manifesto is that we have farming, and we have public health, and we have social justice, and we have cultural concerns, and we have wildlife, and all these groups work in silos. And so we thought that so we need a manifesto to bring them all together. So, but before I get to our workshop, so some of the particular highlights for me have been the whole health agriculture workshop, with this sort of statement that the health of the farm and the soil, the plants, the animals and humans is one and indivisible. And I think that sort of says what's behind our food manifesto, really. Also really enjoyed Mama Dee's food journey last night, being blindfolded and being fed these foods that I didn't know half of them were. It was quite an extraordinary experience. I do encourage anyone else to take advantage of that. And then there was Kimberly Bell's just detailed description of actually running a bakery and introducing customers to farms. Just the details are so inspiring. Anyway, to come to our workshop, we had a few farmers, we had some and growers, we had people from public health, education, and Welsh language and culture. and a wonderful audience, many of whom were from Wales and had their own inspiring things to throw into the mix. So we had a great conversation, and the upshot of it is we made a collective commitment to run a version of the Oxford Real Farming Conference in Wales, hopefully later this year.
That's excellent. So thank you very much, Jane. If we could go to Patrick Holden next. Thank you.
I listened to Elliot Coleman. Is Elliot still here? Maybe he's gone, but I don't know how many of you, maybe half of you listened to Elliot Coleman yesterday evening, and he gave the most incredible talk about he kind of described the whole sweep of the history of the organic and sustainable food movement, which spans his whole working lifetime. And he's an incredibly inspiring man. And he reminded me of the part that I've been involved with, which was with my co-founder, Peter Seger, of the Cirencester conferences, which started in 1980, and then went on right through until 2001, when we kind of went around the country after that. And I felt that what we were trying to do was, in a way, very similar to what's happened and been developed far more by Colin and Ruth and Graham at the beginning here. I feel that spiritually, the Oxford Real Farming Conference is the direct descendant of the Cirencester conferences, because I think there were probably, I thought about how many people here were at the Cirencester conferences when we had them back in the day. There's probably a couple of hundred of the people here were actually present at some of those Cirencester conferences, and the atmosphere that has been generated here reminds me of that. And it's the most incredible thing when you get a group of convivial people with one or two whatever the word, pathogens involved, which were overwhelmed by the good spirit of everyone else. And you generate this wonderful, affirming atmosphere, which just touches you very deeply and sort of sustains you on. And I think that this conference is a real disruptive force for change in the best possible sense. And I pay tribute to Colin and Ruth and everyone who organised it for bringing it together. I want to say something about Michael Gove, because I know there was a discussion with Colin about, whether the Secretary of State should even come here this year. And I just want to say that I think it's really good that he did. And whatever comes of what he said yesterday, I think we need, because democracy and elected politicians is the least worst system that we have, we need to hold the politician's feet to the fire. And the power of him watching 1,000 people here yesterday and putting pressure on him, and then hopefully that pressure being sustained, will maybe enable him, because all he really wants to do is to get re-elected, or, that's what all politicians want to do, really. But if the power of us, informed collectively together, bear on him and take that forward, I think that would be huge, because I've been trying to lobby politicians since the 70s, and I've never heard a Secretary of State or Minister say the things that he said before. So I think we should recognise that that's a huge thing in its own right, and the power of us creating that is part of it. So I'm glad I'm here. It's the 10th time I've been here. I'm basically a hippie back to the lander, and my feeling is that disruptive change happens when a group of people like this act together and become more of the sum of their parts, and I feel very happy to be part of it.
Thank you, Patrick. And you mentioned you've been at 10 conferences, which is, of course, all of them. This is the 10th one. So it'd be good to hear from someone who this is their first conference. So, Lena Gould.
Hi, I'm Elena, and this is my first ever conference. I have no experience in farming at all. I live in London, but I went on the Soil Association Future Growers course this year, which was phenomenal. And I hope to be a new entrant into farming in the near future. I'd just like to thank the whole conference for just being so candid and honest about what it's really like, and for being utterly inspirational, actually. I found the conference pretty life-changing. all the important questions were being asked, and I'm so grateful for people staying curious. I think that's really important. My biggest takeaway really is that I don't feel alone, and there's a real sense of kindness and support and community. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas. I hope you have a really great season, and I'll definitely be here next year.
And that is the sound of various sticker-shaped hearts trembling a little bit. Fidelity Weston.
Thank you, Tom. Well, I suppose I fall into the middle somewhere. I think I've been here 3 or 4 years. When Tom asked me to do this, I thought, Tom, we could say a little bit about what we felt about today and a little bit about the future. So possibly picking up what Colin said. I've got a few thoughts arising from what he said. But I suppose, first of all, my overriding feeling about this conference is for one thing, is having it in this incredible building is in itself astonishing. And the sense of community, the sense of togetherness, and the real sense of power that comes out from this conference is inspirational. And I suppose that takes me on to the next point, which is, in fact, our relationship with the other conference in Oxford. I felt that this time, I always love coming for the real practical farmer advice. So some of the sessions led by the Pasture-Fed Livestock Association on silviculture, on drought resilience. Today, we did a soil session with Abby Rose and her amazing Sector Mentor app, which, Abby's a young person. She's designed this incredible app, which I think is the future. I think we're all going to be asked to measure things to show compliance. And, there she is trying to forge her way in actually it's useful for conventional farmers as well. And I feel that the PFLA sessions that we have here are of real relevance to conventional farmers or the other side or whatever you might want to feel. And I suppose, Colin, I would take issue with you seeing a them and us issue with them. I feel we're all on a learning curve, and we start at one level and we work our way up. And I'd like to think that this conference now is so powerful and we have such strength and such confidence that we can incorporate the other conference in some way or another maybe next year. Maybe even things like offering some of them to be able to come to some of the sessions we do on practical farming issues. So I'd like that debate to continue and to feel that we can really influence the future of farming by opening out our hearts to them and saying we've got things that we know we're doing right. Come and listen to them. I was one of the few lucky people who had lunch with Michael Gove, and he made the point that in all of his policy changes, he's talking to the converted here. We all think he's wonderful, his ideas are wonderful. He's got, okay, well, we're more supportive towards him than maybe. Well, he says things. Well, maybe you're. Let's see. My point I was trying to get.
Yeah, but please, can you let Fidelity make her point, and we can talk about that afterwards.
The point I was going to make was that he has been talking to a conference who are generally supportive and listening to him and to what he's got to say. He's got a huge job of bringing along the whole of the farming industry in the UK if we want him to be doing things that we think are more akin to how we think we should be farmed. And so I think that that's another reason why we should be opening our doors to let other people see what we've got to offer here, because it's absolutely brilliant. So they can't get tickets, exactly. Well, I mean, that's something, maybe that's partly Colin's point, and we've got 400 or 500 or 600 people on the waiting list for this. I mean, there is an issue of space, but I think the spirit should be that we should try and start to open our doors to people who maybe don't necessarily see what we see at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're going to finish with Adam Payne from the Land Workers Alliance.
Thank you very much. Adam Payne from the Land Workers Alliance. I'm also a new entrant farmer and started my pathway into commercial farming 8 years ago. So reflecting on this conference, it's very true to say that I grew into farming with this conference and with the social networks that surrounded it and that continue to surround it. And everything I know about farming, I learnt from a farmer, and the vast majority of them were connected through the networks that this space has nurtured and given room to. The ideas that inspired me with my work on the land, the people that connected me, that made me feel part of a movement, the organizations that gave me hope in a political vision for a better world for farming, a better society, they were all nurtured in this space and continue to grow. And so today, to see so many people here, so many people who aren't here, who want to be here, and to know that the size of this conference, the breadth of this conference, reflects the size and breadth of the food and farming movement, fills me with a huge amount of hope and spirit. Because our power is people, and the breadth, the skills, the knowledge, the experiences in this room and in the movement beyond it are what make us strong. My dear friend and colleague from the Land Workers Alliance, Jyoti Fernandez, sat here last year when we were looking at a year with an agricultural bill coming out and said, we're now a social movement. And I think a reflection on everything that's happened in this last year really proves her right and shows us that food and farming is an emergent social movement issue that's breaking a huge amount of ground, gaining a huge amount of momentum. And when we look at the agricultural bill and the process of lobbying amendments, we can see really interesting evidence of that. The Land Workers Alliance has been lobbying hard with allies, and we heard on the solstice that the Labour frontbench had supported an amendment to the agricultural bill that would give the bill the powers to support agriculture and horticulture businesses in enabling public access to healthy food that is produced sustainably, including through agroecological systems. Now, we lobbied for that, we worked hard for that, but the reason that Labour put that as their primary amendment is because it's a cutting-edge social issue. We're not just a bunch of lobbying organisations putting down a briefing paper. They can see that this is an issue that touches everybody, that public access to healthy food, that agroecology are coming up, and they're coming up fast. And it's not just a Labour thing. There are MPs from all parties who support that sentiment. Conservative, Green, SNP, Plaid Cymru, all parties. But there are huge obstacles in our path. And I, for one, am not at all satisfied with what Michael Gove said yesterday. I do not think it's enough to leave those explicit commitments to public access to healthy food, to agroecology out of an agricultural bill, because I don't trust that governments in the future will see those things as priorities. And I think we, as a movement, have to say now, loud and hard, that it's essential those are written into the bill. These are absolute priorities. And we don't have very long to do that, because it's very likely that these amendments are going to be voted on in the next 3 weeks. So everybody here has to go home, get in touch with their MPs, and have a conversation with them about how urgent it is that they put their voice, they turn up and vote, and that they put their voice behind amendments that will strengthen this bill process. Because like it or not, it's policy that determines a lot of the issues we face. And we need to make those MPs feel more actively, more keenly how alive this social movement is and how powerful it is. So I wanted to end with a couple of reflections. One of them is personal. For me, I farm because I couldn't do anything else. I love the land, and I really believe in the model that I'm working with. I really believe in providing healthy, nutritious food to local people. But love is not enough. Love doesn't exist in isolation. We've seen over the years thousands and thousands of farmers who loved what they were doing go out of business. And we've seen thousands and thousands of farmers who loved what they were doing lose their community, lose their culture, and really struggle. And I think the answer to those two issues of livelihood and of community lie in social movements. We together can change the policies that affect our livelihood, and we can make each other feel strong, feel supported, feel powerful. And the final thing is, again, I really enjoyed the Elliot Coleman session yesterday afternoon, and it was really heartening to hear someone talk about the 50 years that they've been working on the land. And I think that we, as a social movement, need to be thinking in that term. And I look forward to 50 years, 40 years from now, when we can look back and say, wow, 50 years ago, there were 30 people in a room above a church in Oxford, and look what's happened now. So thank you all very much. A great honour to be here. Hey, viva!
Okay, thank you so much to all of you. I would say, despite the jokes about stickers, we do take it very seriously, and we did think very deeply about the invite to Gove. We would never allow this to be a greenwash. We understand the passion that you have, and we have that passion as well. If you ever feel that we are slipping, it's your job to get in touch with us. For all of my other faults, I do get back to emails quite quickly, so you can get in touch. We have some thank yous. It's a long list, so I'm going to go quickly. And yes. So, to our sponsors, without whom we would not be able to put on the conference, I'd like to thank the Esme Fairburn Foundation, Riverford. I tell you what, let's clap at the end. Is that all right? Compassion in World Farming, Lush, the A-Team Foundation, Soil Association and Innovative Farmers, Agricology, Cotswold Seeds, Triodos Bank, the Organic Herb Trading Company, and also to our collaborators, the Pasture Fed Livestock Association, the Land Workers Alliance. We should have a clap for the bar, so reasonable. Thank you very much for running that as well as your sessions. And to Sustain and Chelsea Green Publishers. I would like to thank Good Food Oxford for sorting out all of the food, and to the City Council and St Aldate's Parish Centre for hosting us so well. ORFC is run by a fantastic team. We have Hugh, who's been taking photos, Zoe's been filming sessions, and Becca, who's done these amazing drawings from EnviroVisuals underneath here. I'd like to thank our press team, Ellie, Megan and Catherine, and to Peter for providing tech support. I'd like to thank Jade and Hannah and the wonderful orange-shirted volunteers for being so helpful and from looking after us. And I would just quickly like to thank Hannah on her own for being so incredible and doing so much, and thank you so much, you're amazing. Last one, and we're about 20 seconds from a really beautiful song. I'd like to thank the Real Farming Trust, in particular Robert and Claire, for all their help with the conference, and finally to thank Colin and Ruth. I hope you are both very proud of the conference. You should be. Without your energy and your commitment, it would not happen, so thank you so much. Okay, get ready to see and sing us out in style. We have Darla Eno, who is going to be singing two songs. One you know, trust me, the other you don't, because it's been written especially for this conference by Robin Gray. Darla, over to you.
So please all join me to wish happy birthday, happy 10th birthday to the Oxford Real Farming Conference. And we're going to say to ORFC, so it fits in. So let's start with a happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to ORFC. Harmony's welcome for the last bit. Happy birthday to you. I believe cake will be at the back. So this next song has been written later. Yeah, stay. Please stay and join in with this song. So it's an adaptation of a traditional English song, Sing Ovie, Sing Ivy, which is one of these kind of rambling nonsense songs. It's about a person who inherits some land, an acre of land, and they plow it with a tooth comb and they work it with a team of rats. And it's been adapted specially for this conference by Robin Gray. And it's really such an honor for me to sing it. So please join me. The refrain is Sing Ovie, Sing Ivy. And it goes, Sing Ovie, Sing Ivy. Can you do that? Sing Ovie, Sing Ivy. And then the next bit goes, Sing Holly, go whistling ivy. Sing Holly, go whistling ivy. And it's 9 verses, but they're really short, so please stay and sing with us. And I invite you to stand up with me. And in between each verse, we're going to do this with our feet. 1, 2, 3, okay? You'll know. Follow me. Ruth and Colin had an idea. Sing Ovie, sing ivy. Gather good folk from far and from near. Sing holly, go whistling ivy. A place for enlightened ideas to grow. Sing Ovie, sing ivy. And host this whilst they schemed up the road. Sing holly, go whistling ivy. Few years did pass, well done, the gathering grown. Sing Ovie, sing ivy. At Oxford Town Hall we found a new home. Sing holly, go whistling ivy. A place for enlightened ideas to grow. Sing Ovie, sing ivy. And host this waltz they schemed up the road. Sing holly, go whistling ivy. The answer's here, new wisdom and old. Sing Ovie, sing ivy. A future for farming, our visions are bold. Sing holly, go whistling ivy. Good food produced in healthy soil. Sing Ovie, sing ivy. Fair wages pays to all those who toil. Sing holly, go whistling ivy. A seasonal harvest, the fat of the land. Sing Ovie, sing ivy. Godspeed to the plough and the caring hand. Sing holly, go whistling ivy. In partnership with worms and with bees. Sing Ovie, sing ivy. Flourishing herds in pastures of green. Sing holly, go whistling ivy. The ministers and the media come. Sing Ovie, sing ivy. To find out about the things we have done. Sing holly, go whistling ivy. So here's to the future in uncertain times. Sing Ovie, sing ivy. So here's to the future in uncertain times. Let's nurture this land with our children in mind. Let's nurture the land with our children in mind. Sing holly, go whistling ivy.
Thank you so much to Darla and Robin. What a fantastic song. Have a brilliant 2019. Goodbye.